Caitlin Clark took the WNBA and they set all-time ratings records. If Caitlin Clark's not in this, the list is nonsense. Who did the list? Time Magazine?
Yeah.
And there's no Caitlin Clark?
No, I don't think so.
That's idiotic. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
This could be one of the most blatant and embarrassing oversights in Caitlin Clark's career, especially considering everything we've seen over the past few weeks. Somehow, Caitlin Clark was left off Time's prestigious list of the 100 most influential people. Names like Jalen Hurts and Simone Biles made the cut, and even Ed Sheeran somehow made the list. Let's be real, he mostly influences us to change the station whenever his songs come on. But here's the kicker, multiple WNBA players made it onto the list. Yet Caitlin Clark, the woman who almost single-handedly pushed the WNBA into mainstream popularity, was deemed not influential enough for Time. Let's make this clear, no one has had a bigger impact on women's sports in 2024 than Caitlin Clark. Yet despite her massive influence, the media continues to downplay her accomplishments. And this isn't just a one-time thing. There have been several instances in recent weeks where her achievements have been minimized. The agenda against Caitlin is becoming more and more apparent, and honestly, it's only getting worse. Today, we're diving into exactly what's going on here and exposing the media's true intentions. You won't believe some of the absurd takes out there. But before we get into all that, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're tired of seeing Caitlin's greatness being overlooked.
Number 22 from Indiana. I mean, makes history quite a lot. Makes history an awful lot.
So why is this snub such a big deal, and how does it tie into a troubling pattern that's only getting worse? Let me break it down for you. The Caitlin Clark effect. Many people thought her hype would eventually die down, but if anything, it's only grown stronger and more dominant. First, Caitlin turned down a chance to join Unrivaled, which could have earned her over $1 million. Instead, she created even more buzz simply by showing up at a Kansas City Chiefs game with Taylor Swift. That moment generated more excitement than the entire Unrivaled season combined. Then, the Indiana Fever made huge moves in free agency, landing stars like Natasha Howard, Dawana Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, and other top-tier players who are still at the top of their game. With these additions, Caitlin now has the best supporting cast of her career. The excitement surrounding this team is real. Fans and analysts are seriously talking about championship dreams. And as these roster upgrades unfolded, sponsors and broadcasters jumped in with big financial backing and strategic partnerships. They're all tapping into Caitlin's soaring popularity, using it to boost women's basketball to new levels that we've never seen before.
Such star power on those teams, it's really no surprise they're atop the list for the most games available for you to check out on a national scale.
The Fever secured an incredible 41 out of 44 games broadcasted on national TV or major streaming platforms. Whether it's ABC, ESPN, or CBS, you can turn on almost any top sports network this season, and chances are you'll catch Caitlin Clark effortlessly draining a deep three, hitting a buzzer beater, or sparking the crowd into a frenzy.
Clark pulls it down, and this building knows what that means.
To truly grasp the scale of this massive exposure, consider that the next closest team, the Las Vegas Aces, is trailing far behind with just 33 nationally broadcast games. That's a huge gap, especially when you remember the Aces are packed with talent and consistently rank among the league's top teams. Of course, not everyone is happy with Caitlin Clark stealing the spotlight. Players like Nafisa Collier have voiced their frustration, questioning why Caitlin and the Fever are getting more national broadcasts than the defending champions, the New York Liberty, who only have 32 games. But let's be honest, it's not hard to see why the networks are putting all their chips on Caitlin Clark.
The reason why they have more national TV games because 18 of the top 20 most viewed games last year were the Indiana Fever.
Then came a jaw-dropping moment for women's basketball. The Fever sold out an exhibition game against the Brazilian national team in record time. That's right, 15,000 tickets, gone in mere minutes. Think about that for a second. We're not talking about a Manchester United or Dallas Cowboys game here. This is a WNBA exhibition, selling out faster than many top-tier sports events. But it doesn't stop there. To add even more proof of Caitlin Clark's unparalleled drawing power, 6 different WNBA teams, including major franchises like like the Atlanta Dream, Chicago Sky, and Washington Mystics have moved their home games against the Fever to massive NBA-sized arenas. These teams aren't hesitating to leverage Caitlyn's star power to skyrocket ticket sales, generate record revenue, and bring in an entirely new fan base. It's the Caitlin Clark effect, turning road games into unmissable spectacles and filling every arena to capacity. And just when you thought it couldn't get any bigger, there's this latest development.
Guys, I'm here to tell you, this is the first time an exhibition game has been picked up ever in WNBA history.
Remember that preseason game we talked about earlier, the one where 15,000 tickets sold out in just minutes? Well, now it's officially being broadcast nationwide by ESPN. Let that sink in for a moment. This isn't a high-stakes playoff matchup or a fierce rivalry. It's a preseason exhibition against the Brazilian national team, featuring players whose names would be familiar only to the most dedicated women's basketball fans. Yet ESPN, one of the biggest sports media powerhouses in the world, deemed this a must-watch event. And speaking of must-watch TV, let's not forget what happened to the NCAA Women's Tournament ratings without Caitlin Clark this year. Viewership for the Final Four and championship games dropped by over 10 million viewers compared to last season when Caitlin was playing. That's not just a dip, it's a free fall. It makes the Caitlin Clark effect more evident and measurable than ever. Here's the truth, team owners are raking in cash from ticket sales and merchandise. Networks like ESPN, ABC, and CBS are seeing huge ratings boosts in ad dollars whenever Caitlin steps on the court. Even the players themselves stand to benefit during upcoming CBA negotiations. The more eyes Caitlin draws to the league, the more bargaining power every player gains. But despite all this, despite her extraordinary impact on the sport, making everyone wealthier and the league stronger, Caitlin Clark continues to face disrespect and dismissal from the media. And this latest snub from Time magazine might just be the most embarrassing example yet, especially when you see who from the WNBA actually made the list instead.
That's right, clap it up. Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, the founders of the Unrivaled Basketball League. Time named Unrivaled co-founders Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart to the 2025 Time 100, its annual list of the 100 most influential people in the world.
It's true, Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart both made Time's prestigious list of the 100 most influential people, yet Caitlin Clark was completely left off. Let's be clear though, I'm not here to bash these two incredible athletes. Collier and Stewart are stars in their own right, and they deserve all the credit for their off-court efforts, like launching a new basketball league that's genuinely trying to improve opportunities for players. As US soccer star Alex Morgan put it, the dynamic duo put themselves out there to give players a chance to make money in the US during the off-season instead of having to move their families across the world. That's a solid, admirable move, and they deserve recognition for it. But let's be real for a second. Do you know who has actually done the most to raise pay and significantly improve the financial landscape for women's basketball players across the board? You already know the answer. Caitlin Clark isn't just a once-in-a-lifetime talent on the court. She's become the driving force behind the WNBA's economy. Just last season, Caitlin's impact was so massive that she drove up both viewership and attendance numbers to new heights. In fact, she's directly responsible for nearly 27% of the league's total economic activity. Let that sink in. Over a quarter of all WNBA revenue can be traced back to Caitlin Clark. And get this, about 1 in every 6 tickets sold in the league was bought by fans who just wanted to see Caitlin play. She single-handedly turned the Fever into a must-watch team, boosted attendance to record-breaking levels, and brought a flood of new fans, media attention, and sponsorship money into women's basketball. This remarkable momentum, the Caitlin Clark effect, is exactly what players like Collier and Stewart will lean on in upcoming collective bargaining negotiations. Caitlin's star power has proven without a doubt that women's basketball deserves bigger paychecks, larger TV deals, and more respect across the board. So it's baffling that Time magazine didn't consider her one of the world's most influential people. Let's be honest, this isn't just a snub, it's downright absurd.
Not on the same page with Collier, lob it ahead, Stewart, sling it, Lloyd on the move, untouched.
What Nafessa Collier and Brianna Stewart did with Unrivaled was certainly admirable, but let's be honest and take a closer look at the numbers. Investors poured nearly $9 million into player salaries for the first season of Unrivaled, which ended up attracting around 11.9 million total viewers. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, it was only their debut season after all, but let's put this into perspective. Just the teaser for Caitlin Clark's upcoming collaboration with Dude Perfect racked up over 12 million views on its own. A teaser, can you imagine what the full video will do? For context, Dude Perfect is a social media juggernaut. They've amassed over 18 billion views across their platforms and have more than 60 million subscribers on YouTube alone. That's right, 60 million, more than the NBA's official YouTube channel. Their brand is wholesome, family-friendly, and most importantly, has a huge influence over young sports fans. Exactly the audience the WNBA has been trying to reach for years. A collaboration between Caitlin Clark and Dude Perfect isn't just entertainment, it's a direct pipeline to millions of new viewers, especially younger, predominantly male fans who might not otherwise give women's basketball a chance. This single collaboration, fueled by Caitlin Clark's star power, will bring in more new fans and generate more buzz for women's basketball than the entire first season of Unrivaled. And that's the key difference. Unrivaled was made primarily for the players, but Caitlin Clark's appeal is all about the fans. Now, I'm not saying that Nafessa and Brianna should be taken off Time's list, but Caitlin Clark absolutely deserves a spot too. So why isn't she on there? Why does the media continue to downplay her massive influence? Well, it all comes back to this.
Really bad, because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition that they should have. And I think right now, it is time for that to happen. So last night, we read Time magazine where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said,
Sheila, one of the co-owners of the Washington Mystics, is part of a team that for 2 years in a row has moved their home games against Caitlin Clark and the Fever to an NBA-sized arena. Why? Simple. To capitalize on Caitlin's massive star power and rake in the revenue. But when it comes to giving credit where it's due, Sheila won't openly acknowledge the key role Caitlin plays in driving this surge in attendance, viewership, and buzz. Instead, the credit always seems to be spread around evenly, as if Caitlin's individual impact doesn't deserve special mention. It's a clear attempt to downplay her influence, despite the obvious actions that show just how crucial she is to their success. Let's be absolutely clear here. Caitlin has done everything right. She has repeatedly gone out of her way to give credit to both the current WNBA stars and the trailblazing pioneers who built the league. She consistently praises her teammates and highlights the collective efforts of everyone who's helped shape the game.
And I love that. I love that she's not the player who's like, it's all about her. It's not. She's giving love and homage to those of us that have come before her. She shares the wealth with her teammates, and she doesn't have to do that. So I just don't, again, I don't know what the big deal is about the fact that Caitlin is getting a lot of love. She deserves that, and she's helped change this game just as a lot of other players have.
But somehow it's never enough, and honestly it probably never will be. There seems to be this odd, almost intentional effort to downplay Caitlin's influence, or even worse, to knock her down whenever the opportunity arises. We've seen it happen time and time again. Take ESPN's list of the top 5 college women's basketball players, for example. They literally used Caitlin Clark's image front and center in the thumbnail, and prominently featured her name in the headline to grab attention. And once they had everyone hooked, they proceeded to list off all of her incredible achievements.
The way she has dominated the record books when she was at Iowa was something you cannot duplicate. She's a 3-time NCAA scoring leader and assist leader, a true point guard for the people, 3-time All-American, 2-time Naismith Player of the Year, 2-time AP Player of the Year, all-time leading scorer. She broke the records of Kelsey Plum and Sabrina. Like, literally, there is nobody who has been such a front-facing name. It's through a direct reflection of her skill set, but how can you be a top 5 player if you have not won a title?
After all the hype and building up her name and accomplishments, somehow Caitlin Clark didn't make it into the top 5, and when the media isn't busy shifting the goalposts, they're outright claiming that Caitlin's popularity is only due to her skin color. It's honestly become painfully predictable at this point.
There's a lot of things that I will say are in bad faith. The word embarrassing is the only word I can use to describe what this article is.
Recently, a Guardian article suggested that Caitlin Clark's supporters weren't backing Paige Beckers because Paige had spoken out on social justice issues, which supposedly made some fans uneasy. The article even went as far as to claim that Caitlin's fans were primarily supporting her because of her race, not her skill or achievements. Then, ESPN analyst Monica McNutt made a similar argument, implying that Caitlin's widespread appeal and popularity were largely due to her skin color.
But I think Caitlin represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America.
Look, let's be honest. This argument is old, tired, and uninspired. It's just a flimsy excuse meant to shift the focus away from the real reasons Caitlin Clark is so popular. Fans love Caitlin because she's dynamic, thrilling to watch, and exceptional at her craft, not because of any oversimplified narrative about race.
First of all, not all fans of Caitlin Clark are white. This is so apparent as a member of social media who interacts with a lot of Caitlin Clark fans, and so many of them are not white. It's just insulting to assume that that's the case to the people that aren't white, to the Black Americans that do love Caitlin Clark.
So why does the media keep downplaying Caitlin Clark's influence or suggesting her popularity stems from something other than her undeniable talent? Here's a clue from a recent USA Today article that has Caitlin's fans absolutely fired up. The article essentially calls out her supporters, telling them they need to learn from their mistakes from the previous year. Translation: don't dare to hype Caitlin too much, don't go overboard defending her, and don't overshadow other players. According to them, everyone should get equal recognition. Sound familiar? It's the same line we heard earlier from Sheila Johnson. Spread the credit around, no matter the facts. Here's the problem. It's crystal clear that Caitlin Clark is the driving force behind the WNBA's recent surge in growth and popularity. But many within the league just can't seem to accept it. Whether it's players, the media, or even team owners, there's this odd jealousy and a relentless desire to grab a piece of the credit regardless of whether they truly deserve it. This is strange because we don't see this kind of thing happening in other major sports leagues. Think about it. Whether it's the NBA, NFL, or MLB, these leagues don't spend time making sure every single player gets equal recognition. The stars get their moment in the spotlight, and that's it. Take Major League Soccer, for example. When David Beckham joined the league, it was like the Beatles were arriving in America. He got all the attention, and the league fully embraced it. Fast forward to today, and Lionel Messi is doing the same. Ticket prices are skyrocketing, fans are flying in from everywhere, and revenues are soaring. No one, neither the league, nor players, nor fans, is worried about ensuring that lesser-known players receive the same recognition. So why is the WNBA treating Caitlin Clark's rise differently? Why can't they just embrace and celebrate the superstar who's single-handedly pushing women's basketball to new heights? Why is there this constant push to downplay one of their most valuable assets instead of lifting her, and by extension the whole league, up even higher?
Like, the non-Caitlin Clark games continue to rise. They don't rise to the level of Caitlin Clark games, but the non-Caitlin Clark games continue to rise, and people keep fighting over the context. And the way I've tried to put this is there is no with and without Caitlin Clark. It's not like it does this with Caitlin Clark, it does this without Caitlin Clark. It's all in conjunction with Caitlin Clark. I mean, it's common sense, right? That when a whole bunch of new people join, in large part because of Caitlin Clark, they then get interested in other things. They then start following other teams. And the platform then becomes bigger for new stars to rise.
This is how it works in every major sports league. When a superstar emerges, the entire game rises with them. That kind of spotlight brings in new fans, fresh energy, and bigger opportunities for everyone. Star power isn't just good for business. It lifts every player, every team. But for some reason, the WNBA doesn't seem to follow that same playbook. There's this weird resistance, like too many voices behind the scenes can't quite come to terms with how big Caitlin Clark's influence really is. And that hesitation, it's glaring. Nobody batted an eye when Breanna Stewart got her shine. The league stood behind her, the media gave her the megaphone, and fans were all in. Same with Sabrina Ionescu. Her rise was met with excitement and full-on support. And now, the WNBA seems more than ready to crown Paige Buchers as the next face of the league, rolling out the welcome wagon without skipping a beat. But when it comes to Caitlin, it's different. Her impact isn't just big, it's game-changing. She's not just popular, she's she's everywhere. She's not just talented, she's bringing an entire new wave of attention, fans, and revenue to women's basketball. What Caitlyn's doing right now goes far beyond what any player before her has done. She's crossed into cultural icon territory, and maybe that's the issue. Maybe for some people in and around the league, this kind of meteoric rise is hard to accept because it means rewriting the playbook. But whether they're ready for it or not, the truth is clear. Caitlin Clark is changing the game, and everyone benefits when she shines.
Austin. Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
The problem was never Caitlin Clark herself. The real friction stems from the size and speed of her success, how quickly her rise has outshined nearly everyone else. And for some people in and around the WNBA, that's just too much spotlight for one person to hold. Until another player can generate the same kind of hype and attention, there will always be subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, attempts to dim her light. Let's be honest, most of the players in the league seem to like Caitlin. They respect her game and recognize the wave she's brought with her. But when it comes to the media, and especially those cashing in behind the scenes, there's this odd reluctance to fully embrace just how much she's moved the needle. Look at what happened with Time magazine. They named her Athlete of the Year, and rightfully so, but even that was met with backlash from certain corners who felt she hadn't earned that kind of praise yet. And since then, radio silence, no follow-up, no continued recognition. Not that Caitlin seems to care. She stays poised, humble, and keeps her focus where it belongs, on the game. But the fans she's brought into the fold, the ones who are just starting to get invested in women's basketball, they're confused, frustrated. It's hard to develop loyalty to a league that constantly seems to push back against the very person who sparked your interest. Building a fan base takes time and consistency, and the media's pattern of downplaying Caitlin's influence or policing how her fans should support the sport, that's not helping anyone. This upcoming season is shaping up to be massive, with new talent entering the league, fresh rivalries, and unprecedented ticket demand. It's poised to surpass even last year's breakout moments. WNBA legends have already stepped forward to publicly celebrate Caitlin's role in all this because, again, the players get it. They know what she's done and what she's still doing, but the media, some are still stuck on this outdated idea that credit needs to be equally divided even when reality says otherwise. And if they keep leaning too hard into that narrative, they risk pushing away the exact fans they need to sustain the league's growth. If they're smart, they'll embrace what Caitlin's doing for the sport, acknowledge her impact fully, and let everything else follow naturally. Still with me? Drop a basketball in the comments to let me know. Appreciate you watching.